Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now in today's one I'm joined by my sister Sophie and I thought it would be a pretty funny idea to give her £100 to try and find a cheap gaming PC, or a PC that was at least described as a gaming PC. Now there is a bit of seriousness behind this silly video as always. I wanted to see what would happen if I gave someone who doesn't really know too much about computers,
or anything at all,
or
to be quite honest.
or anything at all. If I gave someone with little idea about computers a very small budget, what would they end up with? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there, maybe even some of you who don't know too much about PCs. You're thinking about buying a pre-built system and you are on a very, very small budget. Now, of course, what you end up with is probably going to differ to what we've ended up with today, but let's get into it and talk about the specs, of which I have no idea at the moment, and talk about the price paid. How much did you spend?
140.
Okay, so we're already over budget, so this is going very well. £140. The PC actually arrived this morning. I take it in this massive box. I'm yet to open it. I have no idea what's inside. Do you know what's inside? What was the description of the...
Well, the picture was just the front of the computer, so I honestly don't know what to expect either.
And what? Oh, okay. So what was it actually? What was the listing titled?
Just a gaming PC.
Well, there we go. It just said gaming PC, so I don't know what we're going to get today, but it's certainly going to be fun finding out. So let's crack open this massive box and see what we've actually got inside. So £100 is a very small budget for any PC, let alone a gaming PC. You might get lucky at that price, but I knew that whatever Sophie ordered, well, it probably wouldn't be that good. I just thought it would be fun to see what sort of tech we'd get inside a computer that's actually been described as a gaming PC at this price point, especially when someone else is doing the buying. Unboxing this mystery spec PC is going to be fun, because I have no idea what to expect. She could have found us a brilliant deal, or she could have found a PC that is worse than terrible and just horrendously overpriced. The fact that it was just called a custom gaming PC is enough to get me worried, and as I sit here writing this part of the script, I still don't know what the specs are. Inside the box then, we have the PC itself and a power cable, which is always a nice inclusion. They don't cost much on Amazon or eBay, but getting a PC without a power cable included is still a minor inconvenience if you don't have any others lying around. I apologise for the state of my garden. Winter hasn't been kind to the grass this year, just like time hasn't been kind to this machine. There is some cosmetic damage here, but I always expect that from a second-hand system, especially cheaper ones. The structure of the case is actually pretty solid. That's one thing that older cases do better. They generally tend to be much sturdier. The name on the case, DTK Computer, is a company founded in 1981 and based out of Dubai, from what I found online, which is pretty cool, and it makes me wonder if this PC was built by the company or someone just used the case to build their own PC inside. It is a pretty weighty and solid enclosure after all. I guess we should look inside the machine then. Thankfully, half the work has been done here for me already, as one of the screws holding the side panel on is missing. Removing the side door then, and my initial impressions tell me that this has at least been looked after to some degree. There's very little dust settled at the bottom of the case, and the CPU, rear and front fans are all fairly tidy as well. It's nice to see a front and rear fan here. Cable management is okay as well, considering there's probably no space around the back of the case itself. Based on the specs, I can actually see, I know that we've got a 250 gig hard drive, 4 gigs of RAM, and a GT630 from Nvidia. Yeah, this probably would have been an okay budget rig 8 or so years ago, but these days, well, it's got its work cut out for it. I guess we should see if it works and find out what the processor is. Before switching it on, I noticed that the motherboard backplate wasn't the correct one for the board itself. This makes me think that the board has definitely been replaced by someone over the years, or the case was used to build an aftermarket machine inside of the DTK one. Firing up the PC reveals a fresh Windows installation, and from the looks of it, it still has the original version of Windows 10 installed. Man, there's a lot of updates we need to do. Making our way to Device Manager reveals the AMD Phenom 8550 triple-core CPU in all its socket AM2 Plus glory. The triple-core Phenoms have always fascinated me, and we'll have a couple more videos on this one in the future, because when it came to getting this machine working today, well, it was quite frustrating, and from what I recall, the 8550 lacks certain instruction sets required for modern titles, but again, this will be explored further in due course to see which games we can and cannot run. For now, I did manage to test a few titles, though the experience wasn't brilliant to say the least. Skyrim Special Edition, or the remastered re-release of the game, does run on this CPU-GPU combo, but the frame rate, even at 720p low, hovered around 12 to 17 FPS most of the time. I think we could get more out of the Phenom, and indeed the 630, if they were each paired with better components. MSI Afterburner, by the way, didn't want to work here either, and kept throwing up various errors, so at the moment the whole experience isn't ideal, at least not from a benchmarking perspective. In CSGO, however, I was able to hit 30 FPS, at least, with the low settings and 720p once again. There were some huge frame rate dips, which was to be expected from a CPU intensive game like this. The Phenom, as I said before, came out around 2008, and as a triple-core CPU, it is essentially just a defective quad-core. AMD, instead of throwing these away, just sold them as better than dual-core options at a price that was lower than fully functioning 4-core alternatives. The last game I tested for now was Fortnite, which, thanks to the new built-in performance mode, means that we can set the graphics to a preset that is essentially lower than low. It's perfect for entry-level systems and integrated GPUs, though I haven't yet had a chance to test what sort of impact it has on processors and whether or not this mode is less taxing on the CPU compared to regular low settings. With that said, there will be some micro stutters here and there thanks to the 3 cores and 3 threads of the Phenom, though the frame rate overall wasn't too bad, at least not on average. So I want to make a couple of videos with this machine, or more specifically the Phenom itself. I'm downloading more games now for testing purposes, and hopefully we can see what else this chip can do when paired with a few graphics cards. There are some improvements we can make to this thing, such as 8 gigs of RAM and maybe an SSD. Now I plan to do that while keeping the budget minimal, of course. For £100 our mystery machine isn't much of a gamer, and that's fair enough for the money. This was a hard challenge to set someone with little PC knowledge, but at the same time I'm glad that I ended up with it in my hands and not anyone else, because if someone bought this with the intention to run newer titles, then they'd probably be disappointed. Still, it's been pretty fun. Sophie, I'm filming you.
Not while I'm playing the game.
Your PC wasn't very good.
Why?
Because it was a bit slow, but it was only £100. No, £140.
Slightly over budget.
So it wasn't really your fault, but there we go.
Okay.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe to Sophie if you like.
If you'd like to.
And I'll see you all. What was you going to say? What was you going to say?
No, I was going to say my channel, but I suppose if you're going to...
I'll put a thing here again. Yeah.
Right over my face.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.